Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk to a certified CPA career coach about what is the best career path for CPAs from his years of coaching them. If you like what you see, please give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comments below. The question is, what is the best career path for a CPA, especially those who just passed the CFE or just got their designation?
Yeah, this is one of the hardest questions. I know before we started recording, and I'd love to hear your take as we have this conversation as well. The easy answer is there is no best path. It depends on what you're optimizing for. So how I would like to describe your decision-making pre-designation. It's very much focused on getting your education, your work experience, a salary that could support your lifestyle, of course, but it's very singular focus in a direction of professional development, right? And many of us that have gone through many years of education and deciding to do more education, it's quite obvious that you value growth. Now, our definition of success is vastly going to vary now, as when you get to the finish line of the CPA, the paths are endless. There's so many different directions that you can take. The common paths, this is what I see most, is depending if you're coming from a firm in professional services, it's staying at the company and progressing up, becoming a manager, director, a partner, maybe branching out and being a business owner, running your own tax or accounting practice. I see very commonly, if you're coming from industry, to stay in industry and start to niche down and specialize in a specific industry, whether that's government or technology or retail, and growing with the company. And when you get capped out at your company, you move on to another company. Again, if it's public or a private company, government, it really depends on you and your interests. And that's, again, financial reporting, audit related, tax. It's also very common to work in professional services as a tax service provider or expert, or work internally for the tax department of most likely a larger company or companies that have cross-border transactions. And another traditional path is going into FP&A, which is forward-looking budgeting, cash flow management, less backward-oriented work. And that exists in many organizations that have that capacity and that need. Now, these traditional paths are typically what you're going to see as more of the stable or the streamlined paths as CPAs. Now, each of those paths will have their different factors: pay, work-life balance, workplace location. It's going to be remote or hybrid or in person. You're going to have different kinds of cultures. So there's so many opportunities out there. I get it. It could get overwhelming, right? It could get very overwhelming. And when it comes to choosing your best path, I also want to open up this other side for CPAs, which is starting to deviate or step gently or a big step away from the traditional paths that I mentioned, right? And that's a path that I took. I got my CPA with the intention of starting my own business. I didn't know what kind of business that would be, but I knew getting my CPA and working in business would help me build specific skills to start a business. And I took a path to go toward education, which is a different pathway. I know other friends and colleagues that have gone to teach at universities or colleges, start non-accounting related businesses. I know some people that went into totally different service lines. I know a CPA that turned into a nurse, a policeman, starting their own entrepreneurial endeavors. Like, there's so many different pathways. And when it comes down to the decision now, I know it's easy to get into the mindset of there is a right path, because as we're talking about getting designated, yes, definitely there is a right path for you to follow. Now, when you finish your designation, there is no right path. It's now going to depend on you and your values, your life goals, the lifestyle that you want to be creating for yourself, where you want to be living, the type of impact that you want to make. This list could go on. And these factors are now going to be very personal, right? So the way that I like to think of finding that best career I actually do have an answer. I don't have the answer for you, but the answer is I believe that you could find that out through reflecting on your experiences, on what you like about your job, what you don't like about your job, where you see yourself progressing and learning over the next 1 to 3 years in the short term, midterm up to 5 years, and long term, think as far as 30 years from now, where you potentially see yourself retiring, right? And I like to describe it as, instead of looking at the job descriptions out on the market on Google or LinkedIn or wherever you see jobs, start to develop your own job description, what you need out of your next job, and what you need to be negotiating and speaking with potential employers about. And I've helped individuals land multiple offers to the point where they actually rejected the offers because they were not lining up with their needs, right? So I know a worry that many accountants have is leaving for a job that might not give them anything better. It's kind of like a lateral movement, or the fear of trying something outside of the typical path is a step backwards. Now, these definitions are very personal, and there is no right or wrong answer. And I think one piece that I do want to add to this as well is, think of getting your CPA as graduation. So when you finish high school, you had an idea, okay, maybe it's post-secondary, maybe it's taking some time off, going into the trades, and eventually you landed on accounting. And as we get to the end of the CPA, it's like, oh, okay, we graduated again. And yes, there is uncertainty about what's in store for the future. But I like to think of getting your CPA, and up to this point now, and congratulations to those of you that have got here, as your career origin story, right? And it was challenging. It could have been fun. It took a lot of time and effort, but this is the origin story of where you're at today. Now, I inspire you to consider what story you want to be telling next, right? What story you want to be telling next, and for you to take the actions and the steps necessary and take full ownership of your career here. No one's just going to tell you what to do, right? No one's just going to tell you what to do. So it's your responsibility to go out, gain knowledge, gain experience, test and assess what it is that's going to inspire you in your career, and build a career that will help empower and strengthen your personal life. And that's so important, because I know what happens when we put so much emphasis on our jobs and our careers, especially in this field. It can get really challenging. Our full identity gets sucked into our jobs, and we start to neglect other parts of our lives. So I'm not going to get too deep into that. I know I shared a lot there. I'm wondering if there's anything else that you'd like to add.
Yeah, I think personally for me, it's really, once you get your CPA, I always see it as like your basis, right? You're already covered for your basis. The CPA designation, I think, is great. For anyone that wants, accounting, finance, or want to go into entrepreneurship or anything in business, I think the CPA gives you a basis. You're gonna, have a good career, okay career, good career. There's gonna be a level of expectation on how much you can probably earn, and it's, decent salaries that goes around, I would say. When you go into where do you want your career to progress? I think it always comes back to, like Casey said, it really is what your true values are. What do you like? Because I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of jobs that can pay a lot, right? Can give you different types of experience, give you different types of, insights. And, money aside, it really, I think in the end depends on what you really like. Because I think whatever you like to do in the end that's what will make you happy in the end. And it doesn't really matter if this job pays a little bit more or that job pays a little bit more. I think if you just follow in your passions and what excites you in the morning, you'll get that amount, whatever that amount is that you're trying to reach for, right? So I think people just really have to really figure out their values early, because I know a lot of people, they just go for the different titles, different jobs or different salaries, and they just keep chasing these things. And then you get to a certain point where you're at a burnout point where you're like, this isn't really what I really want to do for the rest of my career, right? Because it gets harder and harder as you go higher and higher in different companies, right? You're not going to want to let go of whatever you have, but it's not, the space or the place that you want to be in, right? Totally. So you want to make sure you have that choice early. And I guess, Casey, if you can share with us, do you believe what you're doing right now is the best career path for you?
Oh, I love that question. I really do believe it is. And over the last, I'd say the past couple of years, I've really had that conviction that the path that I'm on is fully in line with what I'm looking for. And that included my role at KPMG when I was a performance manager.
Mhm.
That was like the dream job. I loved it. It gave me a lot of what I needed. And the reason being is because I got really clear on what inspired me. I got really clear on my purpose. I got really clear on what energizes me. And it really is around being able to be of support to others. I think that's something that you and I both have in common here.
Yes.
And I found that I would have been able to do that as an accounting manager. I was able to do that as a performance manager, more like in the HR space. And I'm doing that as a professional coach. It's interesting. The first time I thought about becoming a coach and a teacher was back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
This was after a year in the workplace. And the reason why this came up was because I loved mentoring. I loved receiving mentorship. And I got really drawn to the idea of collaboration and teamwork and supporting each other, which in the work that I was doing with audit was very team-based. And I didn't know exactly it was going to turn into what I've created. But what I did know is as long as I was helping others develop and grow, learn their skills, share knowledge, even be there for moral and emotional support, I knew that was making me feel fulfilled. And it really connected me with a larger impact. And I know what you said earlier about titles and pay and, brand name of a company. I think something so important to acknowledge as well is the team that you are working with. And I know countless accountants or CPAs that would actually move with their managers. Mm-hmm. If their managers left to a new company, they would move. And it really shows and demonstrates the value, the intangible value of developing strong relationships. And you never know what kind of opportunities are going to come out of the relationships that you're building with your current employer, your past employer, and your future employer. And something, I know it's a bit of a deviation from your question, but something that I've seen is when you have a strong relationship with the team that you're working with, they're actually going to empower you to grow and develop in your career. And if that growth and development is not going to happen in the company that you're currently working with, they actually may be the best referral for you for your next job application, right? So it's really key that you're developing really strong relationships. And I would say developing strong relationships from this place of authenticity, openness, like desire to help one another, not just to take, but also to give, is so important.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I know I've worked on many different teams, and really like the people that make up the team is really what makes the role. Like whether, no matter what title you get, no matter what pay you get, sometimes those come secondary when you have to see the person day in and day out, and you have to actually work with the people there. So for sure, I'd say relationships with people is always comes top of mind for whatever career choice I guess you're trying to pick. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put it in the comments below. Both Cassie and I will read through all of them and make sure that we'll give you an answer, whether it's within the comment section, or we'll try to maybe do another video of it. So let us know your thoughts. Thanks again for watching this video. If you like what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe. If you want to get to know Casey a little bit better, please check out the links in the description below.